Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Staying Power, a show that is all about building a better life. In all the ways that you think we mean it, that is how we mean it. We get together once a week to talk about one element of that, and we hope that it resonates with you. Today, we are doing a follow-up to last week's episode, which ended up being about unrequited love, and we got so much feedback and requests for more on that we're just going to pick up where we left off last week. By we, I mean myself, JDK Winnikin, and my lovely co-host here, as always, ready to roll, Ashley Kniebel. Hi, Ashley.
Hi.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm also really excited because for the first few minutes of today's show, we have a special guest here with us in studio who's been doing this gig, the things that we do every week. He's been doing this a lot longer than us, Ashley, and doing it really well. I'd like to introduce our listeners to Paul Casey, who is the host of the Voices of Experience show and podcast on Kixie Radio here in Seattle, but it also uploads as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And he records his show right before ours, and so we always see him in passing. We have for the last year, and we finally, Paul, put our heads together and found a way to get you on this show, and we just appeared on your show just a few minutes ago. Welcome.
A lot of fun. I really enjoyed having you, and you're exactly right. We just see each other passing in the afternoon, and finally we said, hey, let's just do something together here. And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Glad we did. And we've always been fascinated by the type of show that you do, and we had a chance to experience it. And I know we have a number of questions. So, Ashley, where do you want to start with Paul?
Oh, well, I would say, Paul, you have been doing this a long time. What got you into doing this in the first place?
Well, I was publishing a newspaper called Voices of Experience in the late 90s into 2004. And I didn't know that you could buy radio then. You could buy time.
Oh, yeah.
And it was on Kixie that I found that out. On Sunday mornings, you could, as I say, buy segments. So I went, wow, that's pretty cool. And so I had a number of advertisers on my newspaper, and essentially what I did was shut down the newspaper because it was too much work.
Mm-hmm.
The radio show was a lot easier. I didn't have to worry about print and mailing and all that. It was so clean.
Mm-hmm.
And the response to the advertisers was much higher. So it had everything going in its direction that way. So that got me started to doing that, and that's why I made that transition. And so I was a big believer in radio. I've loved radio my whole life. I call it theater of the minds, like Jim French used to call it. Take that from him. And I've always felt that. And I was a kid listening to baseball at nights and the image of it all. So I was really into radio, and then I had this opportunity, so it was wonderful. So I jumped.
That's amazing. Now,
That's really cool.
when you talk about Voices of Experience, what kind of experiences are you wanting to hear about on the show, and what is it that you think your listeners gain from hearing those experiences?
Well, I go back to an ad I run on the show occasionally, and it's Captain Sully when he took that flight out of LaGuardia, New York, and he hit a Canadian or flock of Canadian geese, and all of a sudden he had 5 seconds to make a decision to either go back to LaGuardia, go to Newark, or land in the Hudson, and he made the right decision. He had 15, 20,000 hours of flying a plane.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really counts in situations, experience. And I would rather have him there in the cockpit than I would have somebody on their maiden flight.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I think. I'm a big believer in that. And it's just not age-driven. I mean, I'd love to talk to someone, let's say, who was in the Olympics at 18. What was that like, training for that and all that? So I'm just, my number one belief is no matter what walk of life, travel, health, fitness, we talk about various aspects of health, if someone's going to give me advice, when we were talking a little about that, going to a dentist, I want the person with experience.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the whole background.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it kind of dovetails well with what we talk about, I think, Ashley. I mean, in order to develop experience, you have to have enough resilience to gain said experience.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Exactly. So that's interesting. What are a few of the interviews that really stand out beyond the ones you just mentioned?
I'm going to say a lot of them are, people like doctors, when I'll talk to doctors in their particular fields. I had someone on, maybe a month ago about Alzheimer's disease, and talking about, what aspects and the breakthroughs in that.
Mm-hmm.
Former athletes, love to talk to former athletes and what their views are on the various games, like Jack Thompson, he was the throwing Samoan at Washington State.
Oh, yeah.
And great guy, and what was it like playing then and the difference now. And entertainment, I had a fun interview not too long ago with Johnny Mathis.
Oh, wow.
Eric Krema got me that one.
Nice.
I guess he's gone now.
Yeah.
We can talk about him. But so anyhow, I don't know. There's so many. I really do and really enjoy in all aspects of it, education, whatever the topic is. It's just that aspect of, trying to talk to people with that, going with them.
Man. And how many episodes do you think you've done of this show over all the years?
I'm going to say probably now I'm close to 800.
Wow.
Something like that.
That's a
I
lot
think
of
we can
airtime.
look that up, but I may be high. But if I go back to the 90s, I did a bunch then.
Mm-hmm.
I took a break, and then I became a media buyer, and I had a blast doing that for Microsoft and the Business Software Alliance through the early part of this century, and did that. And then that ended in about 2014 or 15, and then I got back into this.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. And so this is pretty much what you're doing. You're just going to keep going.
Yes, I have no desire not to keep doing this.
Wow.
I really get excited about it. Sometimes you probably know as well as me, you go, oh, God. But then you just get so involved in it, and it's so much fun. And like, I'm taking a lot of your time here. You do an hour radio show, it's like 20 minutes.
It goes
You're
fast.
out.
Fast.
It
You
goes
look
fast.
over. I always got to look here and go because it's so much fun.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely it is. Well, I'm so glad we had an opportunity to bring you on, and we finally made this work. Again, for our listeners, his show, Paul Casey's show, is called Voices of Experience. You have 800 episodes that you can go through.
I
if you
think
can track
so. I
them down.
could be high on
That's
that. But
incredible.
anyhow, go ahead.
That's
There
incredible.
is something for everybody on
But
that
it is an
show.
amazing show. There's a variety of stuff on there that showcases Paul's skills and his interests. So we highly encourage you to take a listen to that. And you can get it as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much, Paul. Appreciate
Thank you
your
very
time.
much for having me.
You're welcome. We'll see you soon.
You too.
All right. So, wow, that was cool.
I love when we see people with newspapers. I see them every once in a while. I'm like, I want to sit and read the paper
Yeah.
with my cup of coffee in the morning.
Yeah. It's
Do you like the newspaper?
Yeah. I think newspapers are fantastic.
Okay, interesting. I've just been talking about this in the last week or so with people, and there are those newspaper people, who just love it, and I don't. I'm okay with that. I like
love it.
I'm over the newspaper.
But, hey, have a great show. and
Thanks,
thank you very
Paul.
much.
Thanks,
you,
Paul.
Paul.
Be sure to listen on your way home like
Will
usual.
do.
All right.
It'll be fun.
Sounds good. All right. Paul Casey, everyone. That was fun. Okay. Very cool. A little
was
something
good.
different.
You know what? It's about time we got him in here, though, because like we
It
said,
is.
we've only seen him like every week for a year.
It is.
And we're always like, we're going to do this one day. So glad we checked that box.
It's kind of a name. Like he's been doing it for a while. So pretty inspiring.
right?
So,
All
all right. So now bringing it back to today's topic. Ashley, last week when you really took our show in a direction that I did not expect it to go in, and we ended up having what I think we would both agree was a really good conversation
Oh, I liked it.
about it. It was really good. Well, a lot of other people thought it was a great conversation, which ended up being about unrequited love, really, and what is love really about and that type of thing. Well, we got a lot of feedback from listeners who were really struck by it. I had several people reached out to me and said, hey, I've sent that off to some people that I thought really needed to hear this. I had one listener reach out and say, I had to pull my car over and sit and listen because you were both saying things that I had thought and felt and didn't have language for. And I felt really seen and I had a really emotional response to it. So I had to pull over so as not to cause an accident. So I thought we could maybe revisit and dig in a little bit more because I know we had a lot of thoughts coming out of last week of places we could go. So how's that sound for you today?
I am game.
Okay.
I feel like I stole the show last week. So
You feel like you stole it?
yeah, because I mean, we like kind of talked about, we're going to talk about this thing. And then you're like, well, what comes up for you? And I took the entire show.
What happens when you love somebody and you can't get that same love back? Unrequited love. Well, and certainly I think the way we talked about it wasn't so much just about that, but about kind of what that all can mean for us. And the more we talked about it after the show, before we got any of this feedback, I know we were saying things like, oh, we could have covered that. We could have talked about that. So here we are with a follow-up episode
All right,
on
part
that
2.
subject. And for a quick introduction on it, it got me thinking about one of my favorite writers, this guy named Anthony De Mello. Anthony De Mello passed away in 1987, so it's been a long time since he's written anything. I know it's terrible.
He's not writing still?
He's not writing still. Not as far as we know. But he wrote a series of books. He was a Jesuit priest who was originally from India, and it created a very unique philosophical patchwork of ideas that he put forward in a number of his books. And he was very, very big on awareness. That's his probably most famous book, is a book called Awareness. They're all very short. And there's part meditations. There's certainly, because they're Christian scripture based, he talks about that. But there's a heavy dose of Eastern philosophy in it as well. And he has a book that he wrote. It's a small little pocket book called The Way to Love. And I'll put a link for it in the show notes. I just showed it on the stream, which is a series of short meditations on the subject of what love is. And I have to say, actually, he's probably been the most formative influence on some of my thoughts of what we talked about last week and we talked about this week. And one of the things that he mentioned in there is something that he calls as being really important for our understanding of ourself and how we love other people, is something that he calls the divine flame of discontent. And you made the exact same sound just now that you said earlier in the week when I first mentioned that. So what is it about that phrase?
I did.
Or that term? Yes, you had the exact same response. What is it about? What comes up for you with that divine flame of discontent?
You're going to send this question to me again? I'm
Yes.
going to take the whole episode.
No, you're going to.
I'm not, because this is yours.
That's all right.
We already decided.
Well, why do you like that so much? How about that instead?
Well, I would highly encourage people to read the book, first of all. It is a little book, but it's one that you're not going to just blaze through. You really want to take some intentional time to read, like maybe a couple pages, the short little chapters, a day, something like that. But there is pieces in there and specific quotes that really stand out. And they're like the type of things that you hear and you're like, okay. But when you actually stop and think about what they say, it hits home, and it's some of them is like such a gut punch. And you're like, whoa. That hurts, but it's the truth and I can't deny it.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to sit with it for a little while. But in some of it, it's like, it just makes sense. He's found ways to put words to things that I have thought before that I'm like, I don't know how to articulate this right. And then I read it and I'm like, well, he did.
Right. And it is really masterful in a lot of ways. And one of the things, to summarize for everybody what he says on this subject, on the nature of love, is we have to learn individually through experience, through study, through reflection, through awareness, the difference between love and attachment, right? And notions of unrequited love, he would say, if we are wrapped around the axle because we love somebody who does not love us back the same way or the way that we want, that is more about attachment than it is really about love. So this book, but a lot of his writings have to do with drawing very clear distinctions between the two. And just for the sake of summarizing it, attachments are when we have a certain expectation, want a certain outcome, or believe we need, quote unquote, a certain person to give us what we need. In this case, love back the way that we think it's supposed to be given, the way we deserve, the way that we're giving it out. He says, no, that's an attachment. That's not about the person. That's about you, right? That's a self, that's ego and motives and all that stuff being thrust out there. And that he actually calls, at one point in the book, the enemy of love. That creates actually a prison around which love cannot grow. And instead, he has some other ideas about what love is. To get into that, though, we're going to take a break, and we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about it. We'll set this up today here on Staying Power, more continued discussion of unrequited love and what we can learn from it. Newsflash, it's a lot. We'll see you back here in just a minute.
Are you ready to discover remarkable stories of resilience and cultural connection? This is Diaspora, a show sharing the journeys of first-generation immigrants from the Indian subcontinent now building their lives in North America. Inspiring, insightful, and always engaging, Diaspora offers a unique perspective on the immigrant experience. Join me, Aditya Mehta, my guests, on the Diaspora Show every Wednesday at 2 p.m. right here on KKNW.
Welcome back to Staying Power. JD here with Ashley.
Yo.
And we are discussing once again unrequited love. And today we're going to hopefully be broadening out from last week's discussion, but we had a lot of demand for more on this question, which means we have listeners, Ashley, that are okay with more uncomfortable subjects.
I love
this
that.
One's difficult.
Those are our people.
Those are our people. Yeah, those are difficult.
We love you.
So we're really happy to have you here with us. And remember, if you ended up missing any of this episode or any of our other episodes you'd like to catch up on, you can catch Staying Power as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We also live stream this on our YouTube channel and on Instagram, so you can catch up with episodes there if you want to see this whole operation, what it looks like. You can also find out more about us at our radio home, 1150 AM KKNW in Seattle. And in all those locations in the show notes, you can find all the information you need about how to get a hold of us, in particular our email, stayingpowershow@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, get your thoughts on different episodes, your feedback, ideas for future shows, and just in general to hear how you're doing, build this community a little bit more. So thank you so much for joining us. Okay, so Ashley, talking about Unrequited Love and Anthony De Mello's thoughts on this, the divine flame of discontent. Now that sounds like a not so great thing.
Sounds like a movie title.
It does, doesn't it? Doesn't it? But he actually talks about it in a really positive thing, that we need to find this, so that if we want to really understand what love is versus attachment, move away from attachment, which is really about ego and self and filling in a void that nothing on the outside can actually fill, another person, an endeavor, or anything like that. We have to know and feel that what he calls that divine flame of discontent. And that is all the myths and illusions that we might have about how our life is supposed to be, told to us, ingrained in us by our families, by our peers, by the culture that we live in, the society, the world we live in, by social media, whatever the case may be, that we have to feel a deep discontent with all of that and begin to break free of that, right, through that awareness, but then also through the varying processes here. And one that he says in The Way to Love, this short book I was talking about, is he says, if you want to know what love is, here's what love is. Seeing is love. Seeing another person with a capital S. What do you think that means, Ashley?
I mean, for me, I feel like it means you are fully accepting that person as they are, both goods and bads, in their shortcomings and all their victories, and withholding all judgment. And also withholding your own personal emotions about it.
Or at least filtering them, yeah.
And right? I mean, and accepting them, because it's really easy with emotion to have attachment. And to really see somebody, you need to take responsibility for the emotions you're having towards them.
Particularly in the case of an unrequited thing.
Yes.
Right.
If you really want to see somebody, you need to put yourself aside.
Yeah, because what he doesn't say, seeing your own ego or seeing what you desire, is really what love is.
Right.
Yeah, it is. There is a lot to that. And it doesn't mean that you just accept everything about that person as good for you, right? Or that everything about them that you understand or that you agree with. Doesn't mean any of those things. He spends a lot of time talking about this, and he's not the only one who said this, that so often the feelings we have about others are what we're projecting onto them. This image we have of them. And it might be because of how they present. It might be because of, what they show and what they don't show, or what we idealize them into. It's easy to put people on a pedestal. And what he says is when we do that, we're not operating in reality, right?
Right.
Now, he also says we can't ever fully grasp the reality of another person, right? By their words, by their actions, we still don't know really who somebody else is the way that we can know who we ourselves are. So what is the reality of something? In the case of an unrequited love situation, it's recognizing that you have this set of feelings for this person. They're not reciprocating it back the way you would like. The big question is that he poses is, are you really seeing them in that process by wishing it was otherwise? And are you in reality? And if the answer is no, he asks the big question, well, why aren't you in reality?
This is why we read his book a couple pages at a time.
Right, exactly.
I wasn't kidding, but it's heavy hitting.
Exactly. Now, the reason why it had such an effect on me, and it continues to, I read him regularly, is because these are really serious things we're talking about. When we have emotions for other people, whether it's unrequited or not, that's a serious subject, right? We're connecting with them. They bring value. We can have hopes and dreams about relationships and where we want them to go. But he makes an interesting comparison at one spot in the book where he says, when we as individuals go out and we see a sunset on a beach and we walk out on the beach and we see this beautiful sunset, we stand back and go, wow, that is a beautiful sunset. It is singular in and of itself. There will not be another sunset exactly like it ever again. We get to witness it. We get to love it. We get to connect with it. We feel something, right? We're moved by the beauty and the peace of it. But at no point, he says, do we ever claim that sunset belongs to me, right?
This is true.
Yeah, he uses another example where he says, if you go listen to an orchestra, right? Unrequited love and wanting something from one person and saying, I need to have this in return from this one person is like listening to an orchestra and only focusing on the kettle drums, only listening to that. And instead, you're missing the entire rest of the symphony. Right. And I love both of those analogies because it suggests that we're channeling our energy into something because of something we lack.
Right.
And not because of actually who that other person is. And that presents an opportunity, it seems to me, for us, if we're in that situation, to maybe not so much learn a lot about the other person. We have to sort of do that on our own and accept that, but really use it as an opportunity to take a good look at ourselves.
Right.
Yeah. And with that, I think that's when things get challenging. That's the divine flame of discontent, because then it's like, oh, okay. So the problem here isn't at all that this other person is not reciprocating back the emotion I feel to them. But the problem is I'm thinking that is absolutely necessary in order for me to be happy or to feel fulfilled or to get somewhere in life.
Yeah.
Doesn't it sound weird when we start talking about it like that?
I mean, yes, but it's realistic because people have those experiences. Now, I don't know how many people actually sit and ponder that thoroughly and take the ownership and responsibility of thinking of that.
Right.
Most people they're like, well, I want them to feel this way because that will do something for me. And if they don't, then they act on the emotion of getting the rejection or the word back of like, it's not mutual. And then, they react how they will. I don't find too often that people really are willing to go the distance in the discomfort of being like, am I okay with it not being reciprocated? And can I still love that person? And, all of that. I mean, kind of like, I guess this example is similar to what you just said, but there's like that one where it's like, if you want to appreciate a rose, you leave it in the garden because as soon as you like pluck it, it will die. I mean, flowers die eventually anyways, but
everything does.
We all do. But if you take the flower out of the ground, it's going to die in a few days.
Yeah.
But if you leave it in the garden, you can appreciate it.
Yeah.
For a very long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it will keep coming back, actually. If you nurture it, those flowers can come back after winter season.
Yeah, they can.
And whatnot. And I feel like that's a really good example of really loving somebody.
Yes.
From over there. And appreciating them and seeing them.
For who they are.
Yes.
Because then it's not about what you're getting back.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually interesting that you use that example. One of my first foray back into writing, and in poetry in particular, but also a short story, I wrote a short story about this very thing.
What?
About somebody wanting to possess this flower.
Yeah.
Right? But the flower kept moving from spot to spot, and they couldn't catch it. Right? It sounds like a really weird story, but it works really well, actually, for
Alice in Wonderland?
in my mind. No, it actually takes place in ancient Japan. Believe it or not.
Of course it does.
But nevertheless, the idea behind it was, regardless of whether a flower is 2 feet in front of you, you're able to touch it, you're able to smell it, or it's a million miles away, its beauty is there, right? It exists independently of how we feel about it. It exists independently of whether or not we possess it or
That's
not.
brilliant.
Exactly.
It exists independently, no matter how we feel about it.
Yes.
Fantastic.
And it was such a profound series of thoughts and realizations and epiphanies for me that not only did I write that story, but I put
a
tattoo of it.
You got to put that on the camera.
On my arm.
That's what that is?
That's what that is. It's from a short story that I wrote. It's a reminder that things exist independently of me. And the things that I love exist independently of me. And if I'm truly going to love them, it's not about possessing them. It's about seeing them as they are, and me doing the growth inside and the work inside to not have to like leech on to something, to hold on to possess it, because that never works.
Yeah.
At all.
It does not.
Right. It doesn't. And so I think that's what I love so much about De Mello's work, is that it separates that out. Right now, he's coming at it from a spiritual point of view in which, from his tradition, he's also talking about the nature of God as he understands it, right? That God does not, force us to be a certain way, right? Does not, and continues to meet us where we are, right? And it doesn't even matter to me whether you agree with that or believe those same things. I think there's something powerful in the image of that idea that we are seen and accepted for who we are. And if we want to mirror that in a spiritual level, as well as on a healthy emotional level, it's not about making other people something, fitting them into some box that we feel we need. But the challenge of that, of course, is that when we do that, ends up, what are we looking at? We're not looking at them. We're looking at ourselves in the mirror. And you mentioned earlier, people have a hard time doing that.
Oh, that is scary.
It
actually, I would highly encourage anyone to spend, don't make it creepy, but like, spend a few minutes looking at yourself in the mirror, like a real heart-to-heart with yourself. Yes, there has been moments I have spoken to myself face-to-face in the mirror.
Me too.
But it's just like you would your good friend. Because you are your own friend. You know yourself well, but there's also a lot about yourself you don't know. And I would encourage people, as you spend time with your friends and family and significant others, do you ever spend conscious, intentional time getting to know yourself?
Yeah.
Probably not, because we're scrolling on our phones and watching Netflix and just zoning out.
Yeah. Yeah. The sense of presence with oneself, I think, happens less and less, generally speaking. Right. And, that's great. I do the same thing. And I end up following almost like a certain pathway when I do that. If I'm talking about, in this case, being honest with myself, if I'm in a moment where I'm feeling pain about something, taking this example, and saying, okay, what is it that I'm feeling I'm lacking? Because this is so difficult for me. Okay, maybe I'm lacking the love that I feel I want to have or I need to have, or I'm lonely, right? And then the question becomes, okay, well, why are those problems, right? So you're not necessarily getting the love that you want. Does that mean there isn't love available, right? Now, unless we're talking about unrequited love between you and somebody who doesn't even know you exist, right? Which is sort of like seems to be the grist for the mill of movies a lot, right?
Yeah.
But really is more usually a relationship that is already established, and one person has feelings, thoughts, hopes, desires that maybe are not the same as the other person. But there's still enough connection there and love there that they're connected. I had to ask myself the question when I was facing this situation most recently, which was a little while ago, was why isn't the love that they're giving back to me enough for me?
That's a deep question.
Well, the answer is because if I'm making it about me, unless I get back exactly what I want, it's not going to be enough.
Right.
But chances are, by definition, it would never be enough, right? But then, if I ask myself the question, what about the love they're giving me? Then I have to look at them and go, wow, that love is a super gift because of what I know about this person. They're giving me something that is very unique to me. If I demote the value of that kind of love and say, well, it's not the same as the one that I want. We just said that out loud.
Yeah.
Where's the problem?
Yeah. You.
Yeah, exactly. The problem is me. It's not there. It's not with them.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And I think one of the reasons why so many relationships can run into trouble at any given point, right? There's lots of good reasons for marriages or relationships or partnerships to have difficulty. But in this area, one reason why is because if we're going into it, judging it by what we're getting, we're not allowing that other person A to be who they are, and we're not giving enough space for that person to change and grow in a way that we are partnered with, walking alongside. Instead, we're always evaluating by what effect is this going to have on me and my sense of self and security. And that is, and De Mello says it time and time again, that is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Well, exactly, because you're continually getting disappointed, and then that's creating hostility and, all sorts of negative feelings towards that person because you have set an expectation for them. You set it.
A standard that they may not even know about.
Yeah. They don't know about it, most likely. And also, like you say, you're not giving them the space and the opportunity for them to grow and become who they want and whatnot. And you need to honor when that person is giving you love in the way that they are, because obviously we see love differently. What feels great for you may not feel great for me, and so on and so forth. And if that person is already like overwhelmed with things and they're very busy, or life is difficult and whatnot, but they still make efforts to try and reach out and show you some sort of love, adoration, appreciation, whatnot. It may not look like the idealistic package of what you wanted, but the fact that they're still doing that must be honored.
And if you do, it might actually give more value and meaning than the mythological story we've made up about what it is it should look like.
Because then you're building them up, because then they're like, wow, okay, I know I can't give them a lot of time, but I gave them 30 minutes of uninterrupted, high-quality time, and the appreciation I got for that made me feel so good. I was able to sleep well and soar through my next morning, and, if you just are willing to be the first person to step up to the plate and give to the other one, put your ego on the bench and step up to the plate and give the love first, you will knock it out of the park and you're going to win the game. Look at those baseball references.
Great analogies in the middle of summer. Yeah, because then we're appreciating what they are giving rather than focusing on what we're not getting, right? And that in the end is that. So the sunset gives us this beautiful experience. The orchestra gives us this beautiful experience, right? What if we looked at people in our life and we experienced them as them, and we were curious about that, and we enjoyed those moments? We noticed the ones that weren't so enjoyable, recognizing that the people that we care about aren't always neat and pretty and put together, right? We certainly don't apply that standard to ourselves, right? We get messy, right? We're not always at our best.
No.
And I certainly don't want to be judged by the people that love me the most on my worst moments or on my worst qualities, or if I can't give them exactly what they want, or this idea that they aren't important to me just because I have other things going on that are more pressing at the moment, right? It allows us to see people for who they are. And these days, to be seen, I think, in the way we're talking about is fundamentally opposed to the way we right now generally seem to be experiencing other people, and other people are talking about what matters and what doesn't in these things.
I would completely agree with that statement.
Yeah, it's wild. So this is an exercise, and this is the gift that perhaps unrequited love can give us, and that is not about them. It's an opportunity for us to take a good look at ourselves, because if something feels unrequited, we're essentially telling ourselves we're not getting something that we need. And that the immediate question for me as a coach now, and as a person is, okay, why can't you provide what it is that you need for yourself? So what is lacking, right? And suddenly we have to take a look at that. And so from that point of view, I sometimes think, if I could ask Anthony De Mello this, I'd ask him, is unrequited love therefore itself a myth? That unrequited means we're not getting back what we think we deserve, and we're actually not recognizing the love that we are getting. I think he would agree with that.
I think so.
So it might be a myth. Doesn't mean the feelings aren't real.
Sure. I mean, we can take a second and honor the fact that some of those feelings are very real, and they're uncomfortable, and they hurt.
They do.
And we just want them to go away because no one wants to sit in that. It's not great, especially if the outlook is like, well, it's not getting any better by tomorrow. So wake up, same place, same time.
But even that is kind of a weird projection of expectation on what a relationship should be like. If a relationship is not going to be about self-discovery and self-growth side by side with another person and encouraging them to grow and being with them, then what are we doing? Because then it's about what we can get.
Oh, yeah, because you see that a lot when people, they get married and they partner up, and then down the line, one of them is growing and evolving. The other one's like, you are not who I married. You're like, I hope I'm not.
Yeah, right.
Because I would want to think I'm still going to keep growing. And actually, I had an example of this. It was a few years ago, but one of the people out of the couple wanted to get a tattoo. And the wife was like, you like tattoos? And he's like, I've always wanted one. And so he was very intentional about getting one. And she was like, relationship's over if you get one.
Whoa.
I was like,
that was a conversation might have needed to happen a while ago.
Yeah. And I was like, it's not like it was an awful thing he wanted to get. And it wasn't massive or anything like that. But for some reason, it just kind of rubbed her the wrong way. Eventually, I will say, kudos, came around. He got the tattoo. They were still together. They figured something out.
That's good.
But I'm like, his interests are going to keep growing.
Yeah.
And
shifting.
And changing. And that's kind of the beauty and the appreciation of that person is if you really love and see them, you're going to appreciate where that goes.
Very true. And
if it's in a good right.
Absolutely. And I think it also underscores something we may not have time to go into today, but we might in the future. And that's where love and commitment, end up kind of joining together. Yep. Because we all tend to feel like, well, look, if I love this person, they love back the way that I love them, everything's going to work out just fine. Right. Mm-hmm. And not necessarily, right? I mean, there's what the commitment looks like to build that relationship. Those agreements that we've talked about before matter so much. Okay, well, let's take another break. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about this, as well as do our weekly segment. This week, it is going to be 2 Minutes of Terror. And then we'll kind of finish up today's episode and see where we end up. Maybe we keep talking about this next week.
Oh, a third one.
We'll know a little more here in not too long. So we'll see you back here in just a minute.
Hello, I'm Chris Erdman. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m. on KKNW, I sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs, creative minds, and game changers to uncover the real stories behind their business. On my show, Made of More, we explore the challenges that they've overcome, the breakthroughs that they've celebrated, and the mindset that drives them forward. If you're ready to unlock your full entrepreneurial potential, Made of More is the show for you, because here we know you are made of more. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m. on KKNW.
Welcome back to Staying Power. JD here with Ashley.
Hello.
And we're having a good time today talking about the pain of unrequited love. That's why Ashley's laughing.
We can have a good time no matter what we talk about.
It is. And hopefully, I mean, we're not laughing because we're making light of it, but because we've been in it, right? We've been on both sides of it before, and it's a very difficult thing. And yet at the same time, we're suggesting there's a real opportunity for self-growth and awareness that comes out of that. And that type of situation could be a gift. Before we get back into some practical things for everybody on the way out, time for our weekly segment where Ashley and I each take a minute or two to talk about something that happened during the week that was either a terror or a triumph, and share about it with all our listeners, all in the name of developing vulnerability and connection. So this week it is 2 Minutes of Terror. Here we go. Ashley, you've got one.
Oh, I do.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, if everyone tuned in recently, they heard that I'm losing my assistant, and I was trying to spin it right of like, well, I'm going to be in the same schmuck that I was in like a year ago, whatever that means. Anyways, I'm going to be in that same situation, but I've had experience now, so maybe I'll handle it better. Today was like my first day of experiencing, and it did not go great.
No.
I almost broke down in tears.
Oh, no.
Literally. And I'm not that much of a softie. Out of just stress and sheer, I literally cannot do all of this.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a moment, and believe it or not, I went to the mirror in the bathroom and was like, Ashley, get it together. Because you have no choice but to get to the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So figure out what is the best way to do that without totally taking all of your emotions out on everybody in front of you and get to the end of the day.
Wow.
And give yourself a little bit of compassion that you are very overwhelmed.
There you go. So admitting that reality.
That was my pep talk in the mirror.
Wow. And so did you see yourself going in the direction of lashing out at everybody? Is that what brought you to the mirror?
Yeah, I deal with people in situations that are not really comfortable, and it's very personal for them. And so I'm like, I have to make sure that I keep compassion at the front end of my emotion when I'm talking with these people. And if I'm really stressed, it's not fair to them. It's a bad look for me, and it doesn't make me feel good at all.
Right.
So I started feeling that bubbling over the pot, and I was like, we got to simmer down.
Good awareness.
Thanks.
It's really good. Okay. Well, mine is, it's interesting. Some friends of mine who own a pub were looking for some help. And I decided, for the sake of learning something new and helping out friends, that I would kind of take on a little bit of a side gig.
What?
So I have been learning how to tend bar.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm
super cool.
It is cool. I'm enjoying it. It's a good place to work, good people. It's one of those pubs that has regulars, right? So I've been getting to know them and stuff. But the terror part of it is not that. The terror part was I've been training now for a few weeks, here and there, just a few shifts here and there. Just this past week, I had my first shift where I was opening the place and running the bar all day by myself.
Whew.
So imagine
that is
this.
Stressful.
Me, combination bartender and food server, a cook, and that's it. A team of two.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was a good kind of terror. I felt prepared, but there's a million things that you wonder could go wrong, and a few things did. Unfortunately, the people who trained me were like, "Well, I'm just a text away." I had to use that a few times, to do that. But the terror part of it was, oh my gosh, this is something new. It's all me, right? And that's always a bit nerve-wracking. But of course, the benefit of it is when you get through the day, and the day always ends, right? It overall went pretty well. There's some things that I look back on and go, okay, yeah, I need to make sure I shore up on that and on that and on that. And I might not have done that part right. However, it was a little intimidating going in and doing that.
Sure. I mean, especially if you're not put in situations like that all the time.
Right.
Like we feel that was when we're kids, like first day of school and, first day driving and things of that nature. But to do that, especially as someone who is far removed from driver's ed in school, that's a big deal.
It is.
Most people will not go out of their comfort zone. So congrats on the 2 minutes of terror.
Thank you. Thank you. And of course, as we see so often, getting through the terror leads to triumph.
Yep.
Right. Exactly. Okay.
Built that resiliency going.
There we go. Exactly. Okay.
Got that back around.
So Ashley, kind of getting back to this idea we had about the opportunity for for us to really take a good look at ourselves in an unrequited love situation. Anthony De Mello's stuff is really interesting to read. You can find his books anywhere. They're inexpensive. Just look them up, Anthony De Mello. There are also versions, audio books for all of them. So if you like that instead, it can be really good. Just be prepared to keep going back and rereading stuff or re-listening because a lot of good lines in it. But essentially what we're getting down to here is that a situation like that, if you really want to know what love really is, it can't be about just what we get out of it. If you really want to love something, you can't really own it. You can't really possess it. It needs to be a part of your experience, or in the case of a human being, they have to choose to step into the arena with you in however they're going to do that. And the relationship itself will shape around what you both can bring in, how you both feel, what you're both willing to give and not give. And that is just the nature of it. And sometimes that can feel disappointing. Sometimes that can feel exciting. But this discontent that we can feel when we're not getting back to what we really want is an opportunity for internal growth. And I think that's that discontent thing. So in the last, few minutes of the show, Ashley, just about what are some things that we can hand out to our listeners about ways to frame some of this if they're going through that or know somebody who is, or if they run into it in the future? What are some things that we can suggest to them of how to frame this?
I mean, I would start with the real basic, because if you got to start with yourself, you got to make sure you're connecting with yourself, right? We talk about that a lot on this show. But showing yourself some compassion, gratitude for yourself, and acknowledging that this is difficult, and maybe this is the first time that you're willing to go in deep and go into the weeds of those emotions and really be curious about what's missing within yourself.
Yeah.
If this is the first time you're willing to do that, I fully see and support that.
Mm-hmm.
But understand it's going to be difficult and love yourself despite the difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
And don't shy away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep pressing forward, but give yourself some compassion and gratitude for being willing to even take that step.
Absolutely. I think that's a big one, right? Because we can, when we're in that situation, we can so often feel in a deficit or something's wrong with us, or, and it can be difficult to do that. One that I would add to that, with the gratitude for being able to experience and feel that depth of love for someone just by itself. There can be such a dearth of that in the world we live in, right? A lack of it, right, in the world. Or we can feel like we lack it within ourselves. One of the things that was most frightening for me in my addiction days was I felt so disconnected from myself and from other people. I wondered oftentimes, do I even have the capacity to love anybody? Oof. And that was truly and I didn't know what that meant, right? All my history with it was a disaster up until that point. And so to be in the situation now where I've had an unrequited situation like that, I've been on that end, right? But also what I got out of that was an increased appreciation, like, wow, I know what this looks like. The way De Mello talks about it, I have really worked to really adopt that, to let other people be who they are and to love and appreciate what they do give, right? Without it feeling like I'm just getting scraps, right? Because if I'm thinking like I'm just getting scraps from this person, that's my projection, right, onto them in a lot of ways. So for me to be able to feel that, just to have that depth of feeling, to be able to look back and go, actually, I do know what it means to really love someone, to see them that way and not make it about the outcome. I'm really grateful for that. So why aren't we grateful for the fact that we can actually feel those emotions, that depth of love, if it indeed is love and not attachment, right?
Well, I mean, at some point you got to learn how to transform that pain into understanding. And it's a process.
It is.
It takes some time. It takes a lot of emotional resiliency, which you talk about that a lot.
I do.
But you're good at it.
Well, I appreciate that. I think to me, the gift too is when we do that, when we start seeing other people, we can actually show empathy for them, looking at things from their point of view, right? And I've done that before, and I've seen clients do it, and I've taken them through exercises where I was like, okay, if we go with this person is not giving the love back that you wish that they would, let's talk about the love they are giving you. Let's make a list, right? And when that happens, what's amazing to me and what's amazing for clients when that happens is how big the list gets.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. And then go, okay, well, the one thing I'm not getting is this. Wow, that really stands out, but they're giving me this, and this. You kind of highlighted it with the person who has so much going on, but really takes that time regularly to reach out. They're choosing that. There's a million things they could be doing, a million people they could talk to, and they're choosing that on a regular basis. That's a gift if we choose to look at it as a gift.
Choose to see it. I mean,
right.
Even if, like, I have a couple friends that are just beyond busy. Like, I do not know how they do everything that they do all day, every day. But whenever I get, like, a random text message of, like, hey, thinking of you, hope you're doing well, I'm like, oh, my goodness. To me, and it's a text. Took, like, 2 seconds. They were probably in the bathroom when they wrote it. But I'm like, you know what? You could have sent it to anybody.
Yeah.
You might have sent it to 10 people, but I was one of them. You thought of me. In all the things that you're doing, you thought of me. That's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
But I'm choosing to also honor the fact that they did that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you honor the fact, and that shows an appreciation that they have a life that is very broad and full and hopefully abundant, right? It's that's where those things fit. And as we do this more and more, those are the people that we tend to be drawn to and are drawn to us. And so this is a process through which we actually end up self-selecting even more. And that's the last thing that I think I want to mention with this is if we're stuck in that unrequited cycle, and I've been in it, and I know you've been in it in the past, we give up so much to that illusion of who that other person is to affect our day. If they say something or do something really kind, we're just on cloud nine. If something doesn't go the way we want, we don't get to talk with them when we want to, or plans change. All of a sudden our day can be ruined.
Yeah.
That's essentially giving our power, giving our freedom to somebody else. And by being able to let go in this way, I think we actually regain freedom. And any successful relationship we're going to have has to be two free people choosing to share what they can share, and wherever that meets has been freely given, whether we're talking about a romantic relationship, a friendship, family relationship. That's the only way we are going to truly experience love in that context. And so it's funny because relationships can be the places where we feel and experience the most freedom, not necessarily being on our own, which is how we tend to describe it. I want to be free, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. I'm just not sure that that's always true. So.
No, but that is such a valid point. That's usually what I hear from people that I speak to that are in truly selfless love relationships, that they feel more alive and free in those than they ever have by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because they have somebody who sees them.
Yeah.
And is like,
or people.
Yeah. And I accept you. I see you.
Mm-hmm.
I like everything that's going on with us all day, every day, no matter what, because it's you.
Mm-hmm. And you're free to be who you are, right? Anthony De Mello's got one piece in his book where he talks about, I don't have the quote in front of me. I'll find it. But he talks about essentially, if you want to know you're ready to love, is to tell another person, I free you to be exactly who you are, to think your thoughts, to practice your practices, to go wherever your heart desires, and not try to control you. If we can do that with the people that we love, we actually condition ourselves more and more to actually be able to love fully as an experience rather than what we get, right? And it doesn't have to necessarily be a problem that in this given moment, at this given time, in this given way, not getting the love from a specific person or from the world at large that you really wish you could get. Nothing wrong with wanting that. Nothing wrong with wanting to have that, wishing to have that. But making it a problem when we don't can actually be the thing that actually sets you up for more difficulty in finding it in the first place.
Very true.
Right. Or it finding you. Right.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I have a feeling we could talk more about this. It'll be really interesting to hear.
I have a feeling we might have a third one coming down the pipeline.
We might, because there was a lot of stuff in here that I think people will have thoughts about. So I'm looking forward to hearing that. I know Ashley is too. Remember, you can reach out to us at stayingpowershow@gmail.com. You can also find our social media feeds in the show notes wherever you're listening to this as a podcast, or at our website, 1150 AM KKNW, or on our YouTube channel. We would love to hear from you. We will be back next week with another episode. It might be about this. It might be about something else. You'll have to tune in next week. And make sure, once again, you also find Paul Casey's show, Voices of Experience, and listen to some of that. He's got amazing stuff on his show. So thanks to Paul for coming in at the front end of the show. Ashley, we'll see you next week.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, always a pleasure. I'm JD.
I'm Ashley.
See you soon, everybody.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.